When you think of power, of pure, untamed grace and wildness, you're probably thinking of a big cat. I mean, these are the great felines of our planet, right? They command our respect, our awe. But what we think we know about them, well, that's often just the start of a much deeper story. And that story kicks off with a really simple question.
So let's just jump right in. We all use the term big cat, but what does it actually mean scientifically speaking? Your first guess is probably size, right? That makes sense. But the truth, well, it's a little more surprising than that. And it all comes down to what's happening in their throat.
And here it is. This is the real divide. And it has nothing to do with size. It's all about sound. On one side, you've got the roaring lineage, the true big cats from the genus Panthera. And on the other, the purring lineage. Now, this group includes some absolutely massive predators like the cheetah and the pua, who are, and you're not going to believe this, scientifically classified as small cats. Crazy, right? To really get our heads around this split, we have to go way back. I'm talking millions of years back to see how this ancient family tree branched off down two very, very different evolutionary roads.
This timeline really shows you just how deep this split goes. Okay, so about 10.8 million years ago, the Pantherinae lineage, that's the ancestors of today's roarers, they branched off. But it wasn't until 4 million years later that a totally separate branch, the Felinae, gave rise to cats like the cheetah and puma. We are talking about two completely different blueprints for an apex predator. So, the big question is, how do they make these different sounds? Well, it's all because of the hyoid, this tiny little bone structure in the throat. In the roaring cats, it's flexible, partly made of cartilage. Think of it like a trombone slide. It lets them push huge amounts of air through to create that legendary, deafening roar. But in the purring cats, that bone is completely rigid. It acts more like a tuning fork that vibrates, creating that continuous purr we all know. Okay, now that we've got the science down, let's meet the titans themselves. We're going to do a quick run-through of 7 of the world's most incredible apex felines. And let me tell you, each one is a masterpiece of evolution. First up, the tiger. This is the undisputed giant, weighing up to 300 kilograms, the largest cat on the entire planet. But what really sets them apart, what's so wild, is their love of water. Unlike pretty much every other feline, they are phenomenal swimmers. They are perfectly at home hunting in the mangrove forests and wetlands of Asia. Next, the lion, which has a completely different playbook. This is the only truly social big cat out there. They live in these complex family groups called prides. And that iconic roar, it is not just for show. It's a 114 decibel weapon for marking territory, and you can hear it from an incredible 8 kilometers away. Just imagine that. Now let's meet the powerhouse of the Western Hemisphere, the jaguar. This is just a bundle of muscle. It has the strongest bite relative to its size of any feline. We are talking about a bite so powerful, it can literally crush turtle shells and even the skulls of caiman with a single crunch. Then you've got the ultimate survivor, the leopard. Their ability to adapt is just legendary. They thrive everywhere from deserts to frozen forests. And their pound-for-pound strength is almost unbelievable. I mean, they can haul prey heavier than they are straight up a tree just to keep it safe from scavengers. And now for the exception that proves the rule, the snow leopard. So get this, it belongs to the Panthera genus, but it can't roar. Its vocal cords just don't have the same fatty, elastic tissue as its cousins. So instead, this ghost of the mountains communicates with this unique, non-aggressive sound called a chuff. Okay, let's jump back over to the purring lineage with the cheetah. This animal is a creature built for one thing and one thing only: explosive speed. Its entire anatomy is a biomechanical marvel, from a flexible spine that acts like a spring to semi-retractable claws that basically function like running cleats, giving it insane traction at over 100 kilometers per hour. And finally, the puma. You can find this cat all across the Americas. It's massive, but it purrs, it doesn't roar. It is an absolute master of conserving energy, moving with this slow, deliberate care before channeling everything into one single, explosive, killer pounce. 7 incredible predators, each one a unique marvel of evolution. But for all of their power, for all of their adaptability, these incredible animals are now facing a world in peril. Their very existence is under threat from one single dominant force. And the hard truth, the really tough pill to swallow, is that the main antagonist in their story is us. Habitat loss and fragmentation, the illegal wildlife trade that's driven by poaching, and growing human-wildlife conflict All of it is pushing these apex predators right to the absolute brink.
This chart just shows the devastating scale of this crisis. Tigers have lost an almost unbelievable 95% of their historic range. For lions, it's 92%. Let that sink in. These aren't just numbers on a chart. They represent a catastrophic loss of the wild world. But the story doesn't have to end here. The fight is far from over. There's hope, and it's grounded in science and in collective global action. So let's take a look at the roadmap to recovery.
Okay, so a core concept in their conservation is something called the umbrella effect. Big cats need huge territories to survive, right? And it turns out those territories overlap with most of the planet's key biodiversity areas. So when we protect them, we inherently protect entire ecosystems, all the other plants and animals that live there, all under that same protective umbrella.
And this isn't just talk. There are real plans in action. We're talking large-scale efforts, like the Jaguar 2030 Roadmap and the Global Tiger Initiative. They're working to reverse these terrible declines by creating protected corridors so the animals can move and maintain genetic diversity, and they're pushing for much stronger protective laws.
And you know, why this all matters goes way beyond biology. These animals are woven right into our own cultural fabric. For centuries, they've been symbols of power, of royalty, of courage. They're deeply connected to humanity's own story and heritage. You could say their fate is really intertwined with our own.
Which leaves us with one final urgent question. In a world where the wilderness is shrinking every single day, how are we going to make sure that the roar, the chuff, and the purr get to echo for generations to come? Because these animals are more than just predators. They are keystones. And the challenge now is to make sure their magnificent voices are not silenced forever.